So, is this a horror anime?
Or a slice of life?
知らない
Try and decide for yourself as we break down the first episode of the reboot of a cult classic anime, Higurashi When They Cry.
We're your hosts, Kiana
And Kayla, and welcome back to a spooky episode of Latte and Foam. Our story begins right in the middle of nowhere in a small fictional town in Japan called Hinamizawa, which almost recently got destroyed in order to build a dam. The citizens of the town caused uproar and got to keep the town, and no dam was built. Shortly thereafter, Keiichi moved there and started school.
Due to the town's size and lack of funding, he's in the same class with the kids of all ages. Here is where we meet our other main cast members that he got acquainted with: Rena, Mion, Satoko, and Rika.
The audience can assume Keiichi met these four girls only a couple of months before this point in time where the episode begins, in June of 1983. So this first episode throws you right in only after a slasher scene in the beginning, which was absolutely terrifying.
Crazy.
Which gives you an unsettling feeling and keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire beginning of the anime as you start to meet the characters and get into this town.
So towards the middle of the episode, the tone starts to change where we see Keiichi, the main character, the main guy, start to rummage through the abandoned dam that has all of this trash in it. And here is when we find out that someone in the town, or several people, it is still unclear at this point, were murdered, dismembered, and it's just like all up in the air of what's going on.
And we don't know who the murderer is.
No.
And that's when it gets towards the end of the show. He's there, he falls asleep on top of the car, and one of the characters come back, we won't say who to avoid spoilers, and she has a knife, so you can assume that it was her.
Yep.
So pretty interesting first episode for an anime, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
So we haven't actually seen the original, but we did watch reviews of it, and we went back and watched the first episode of the original after seeing this, just because we were curious. And we can see why this became such a cult classic. Apparently back in the day it wasn't as popular commercially when it first came out here in America, so it wasn't licensed. But apparently it became really popular enough to do a reboot, and everyone's been talking about it online, so we definitely had to check it out for October.
After doing research and seeing the very first original episode and then comparing it to this one, we're going to compare and contrast the both of the episodes. We're going to find the main weak points that some of the show reviewers have seen. We're going to form our own opinions, and we're going to do
just kind of talk about like how it's going to go from here on out, like what we think is going to happen in the show and what we're expecting. Spoiler alert, we really did like it. I'm sure you can already tell. Okay, so we first of all noticed in the original when we went back to watch it that it is a lot more thoroughly explained. Like Keiichi has a bunch of inner monologues and he basically tells you everything that you'd be curious about. So when we were first watching the show, there was a lot of things that we were like, oh, what's going on here? Like, what's going on? It was very mysterious. They referenced a specific character, which ended up being the KFC guy. We didn't know what that was. What else? Oh yeah, the whole thing with them all being in the same class wasn't actually explained. We just kind of assumed that that was the case because they're all in different uniforms, different ages, in the same class. When we watch the original, he straight up just says, we're all in the same class because of lack of funding and it's a small area. He explains, oh, this doll that they like that they're talking about, it's the KFC guy. So it's definitely a lot different in that respect.
Yeah.
Which there's pros and cons to that.
Yeah, I say some of the pros is if you're like a very first time watcher, it gives that like intrigue of mystery, like what's going on. Plus you just have questions, and when you have something like a horror anime like this, you kind of want to just like look for all of the clues, so maybe it's a clue.
Right, it kind of makes it kind of spookier and you're trying to figure it out. You're on the edge of your seat like, what's that? Wait, what did they say? Whereas in the other one, it was kind of like, anything you could ever be curious about, before you're even curious about it, they just straight up tell you what it is.
Yeah, they even do that up into the end parts of it too, where some things that you should leave up to the air of mystery for the first episode, they kind of say it outright that you're like, maybe they could have held that back. The other thing I would say that's kind of a con is that they, with this not telling you all those things, whereas the original does, it's almost assumed that you should either remember it or know it since it is a remake.
Right, and I wonder if that is kind of the audience of this reboot is for original fans of the show, because in Japan, I believe it did do really well. It was just here in America that the localization kind of flopped. So another thing was the animation. A lot of people didn't like the animation in the original, which we actually didn't think it was that bad. In fact, Keiichi's character looks the most different. Everyone else looks pretty true to form, which is a plus because they are pretty iconic character designs by now. But Keiichi looked a lot more chiseled and just like maybe a little thinner and more manly. I don't know. I kind of preferred his look in the old one to the new one, because in the new one he kind of looks like a mochi ball. He's like more cutesy, like Moe.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of what they play to, is that because they're all supposed to be like innocent in this like very happy-go-lucky thing, that you don't, they want him to be more younger looking. Plus they don't really state his age.
No, I don't know if he's in middle school or high school. I don't know if somebody knows, leave it in the comments below.
They don't do it in either or. Something that I did like too, I mean, it's not really animation, but like they state like the year and the clock, so that's like something to pay attention to.
Yes,
the
that they didn't do in the original. In the new one though, it's very clear the year that we're in, 1983, I believe it was.
Yeah, but something that's really cool with this animation they stick to that I really liked is like how the characters are like having all this fun and all of their exciting like facial expressions. Like you stick to this, like it's almost feels like a slice of life because of all of the little antics that they're doing. They stick true to that, and I really like that.
But we will say that in the original, it was very like, it was slice of life to a T all the way up until the end when she appeared with the knife. Whereas I really did like how they spooked you in the beginning, where they showed that it was really intense, this scene.
The animation is just so, it just is intense.
It's
so you're
unsettling.
Like something we can get also comparing trash is the soundtrack is actually the same, which is amazing.
Yes, okay, so we really like the music, and so we were like, oh, I wonder if this is like a revamp. But it's the same music. The music was just super good the first time, especially that outro. That was
outro?
a bop.
A bop. Like,
serious certified bop.
Thank you. But they do actually, what I like about the soundtrack and the background music in this, okay, so the first one, they kind of just play the music all the time, and then they do the cicadas, and if you don't know, Higurashi means cicadas in Japanese. So
yes, one of the meanings.
But something that I really, really liked in this newer one is that they play some of the music even louder, and because you have that very first crazy scene, you're always on edge and you don't know what's gonna happen.
Right, that's what I was gonna get to, is the fear element. So that was another complaint. Some people didn't actually find the first one as scary. I mean, I don't really know if we could say yet since we just saw that first episode, but judging 1-to-1, the new one was way scarier. They have that original scene, and then the music just really sets the tone. They make it really loud and boisterous. It's like almost to the point of like creepy clown music at that point. And then they cut the music all the way at the end, at the middle point, when they're at that abandoned dam area, and that's freaky.
And the cicadas are playing, and you're just like waiting for the music to stop. And it's one of the craziest things, because you're like, they have this like really fun music, and you're like, okay, I don't know what's going on. Or they run into this dark room and you're like, but it's like all fun music and it's just going, and then a pivotal moment happens and the music stops. And I think that's like one of the best things that they could do and revamp, is rather than play scary background music, when you stop it and then this serious moment happens, you're kind of afraid of what's going to happen next.
And they also used the color and time of day to their advantage a lot better in this episode. In the original, it does change to sunset to make it a little bit darker, but the whole palette is a little bit muted in the original. This one, it's super bright and bubbly, summery, picnicky vibes, and then next thing you know, at that middle turning point, then it's sunset and it's kind of dimmer and you're kind of freaking out because you saw that initial scene, you're like, when's it gonna happen? But then it turns to night, and that's when she appears with the knife, and that is like really good full circle moment. Even though it's not all on the same day, that really helps that color palette.
Yeah, I think from beginning to end, we were just on our like seats the whole time. Like it's like got funny and it's got all these, but you're just like waiting for something to happen. And they even throws you for some loops. So that kind of just brings us to like how we completely feel about the whole first episode.
Yeah, let's just get into our thoughts and opinions now.
This is one of the first, like, best first episodes I've seen in anime in like a long time.
Right, usually I need like 3 episodes to really get into an anime, but this is one that pulls it off in just 1 episode.
It's just like the beginning, that first like slasher thing happening, and then they just go straight into like, okay, now we're in everyday life.
Yeah.
Going to school, they go to school, and because you're like, when is this situation gonna happen? You're like waiting for that. When is a turning point? You don't really have a lot to go on yet. And then, you know, they're having these individual conversations. And something I like too is like how they change like the camera angle on the character.
Yes, okay.
And they just do some serious moment.
Literally, when she says, "Shiranai" in the middle, we were like freaking out. We were like, what? Because we thought that was going to be it.
例えば事故とか事件。
知らない。
Or yeah, and it's those like that to me is like one of my favorite parts is because they get so like you hear the tone change, you see the change in the character's face, and then it just goes back to normal. So you're like,
yeah, because she's like,
what?
oh my gosh, yeah, and then the color drains from her face, and she's just like, it's
Yeah.
so weird. The way they cut it, it was so well done, and that was not in the original. I mean, it was to an extent, but the color element and the camera angle was not there.
And I really, really like that. I like I like the color changes and the palettes that change. I like that. Okay, one of my favorite parts is when they're running around playing a game, and like I'm freaking out because I'm thinking this is it.
Yeah, because then
like,
they move into a closet and it gets darker, so you're like, oh no, here it is.
Oh man, and then they just don't, and they keep going, and it's just like, okay, where is it going? Something that I kind of like in the original first episode that I kind of wish would have happened in this one. I think you can kind of tell, maybe, because again, we don't really know, but like kind of can tell who's going to be like the one because you can, if you pay attention to the characters, and that's something I'll say, pay attention the entire time to every character, to every movement, to every
This
single
isn't
thing.
something you can like text and watch, like, and kind of like clean your house and watch. Like, you need to be like on the edge of your seat watching this.
Everything's a clue. And so it just like draws you in and you're like, okay, I want to see. And then you get so much and then the episode ends and you're like, I need more. And the other thing too I like is that the air of mystery that they leave in the first, or in the new one. The first one, it kind of gives you all of these details about what's happening in the town, because I like that Kiji's kind of suspicious, like, dude, what's going on?
Can we also talk about the fact that they changed the line? Keiji in the original is like, oh, she's just hacking up a body down there.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Because in the new one, he's like, oh, I think she might have found a dismembered body.
I like the newer one better because it just is like,
Because that still freaked me out when he said
Yeah.
that, because it was like, we haven't spoken about dismembered bodies once, and now you're talking about dismembered bodies.
in that, like, I was like, clue. But another thing is like this, like, I feel like it's the first time he's meeting this person, and it's like, do you feel like that was a good idea to like say that about your friend who's digging in trash?
Right. Again, the original, he's basically saying it's her that's cutting people up down there, and then the camera guy's like, that was like actually a serious murder, and he's like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't know that.
I like the setting too, because like the setting is this like nice like rural town, but it's also like gives you a vibe of like creepy. And I love how Keiji is just so nonchalant, like just lays about, like doesn't
Oh my
care.
gosh, that freaked me out so much. He would literally just like lean back, like fully open, like go to sleep in this rural like area, and it's all creepy, and it makes you think at any second he's about to get murdered.
It's insane. It's because you just already have this idea that like that's what's gonna happen. I will say it does kind of give me Danganronpa vibes.
Yeah, in a way,
Based on
because you're
what
like,
we
it's like a
know.
whodunit kind of situation.
Yeah.
We have to like keep watching it, but as far as what we learned from the reviews that we watched and research we did online, it's actually a visual novel first that was adapted, and they adapted it in a really unique way. I don't know if we should give it away how they adapted it.
No, we don't want to give it away yet. We're actually going to wait till all of it comes out, and then we'll give our
We'll do like a full kind of
tea.
review.
But I will say, if you've never ever watched this show, or you're like wanting to try out some horror anime, and it's like something you want to give a try, this is a great first episode.
Perfect season.
You
It's
don't-
October.
Yeah, you don't need to see the original to see this one. I would say totally. Also, though, if you have watched the original, you grew up watching the original, this is actually still super surprising to watch.
It's a solid adaptation. They
Yeah.
make improvements. They stay true where it should stay true, and they make improvements where they needed to make improvements. It's, to me,
Yeah, so
personal opinion. But
I would totally recommend this one. We're gonna continue to watch it, and then
I
get
didn't
our
know that
full-
we would. I was like, we should just, check out the first episode. It's October, horror anime.
Like, who knows? We might not like it, because horror anime is not even our thing.
No,
I'm
it was just
done.
like, got in the mood for it because of the season, honestly.
Yeah, I'm a huge Danganronpa fan, and like that's my thing.
I feel like, I guess that is horror, but this is like so much more
That one's more,
true
like,
horror.
mystery,
This one is like,
This one is like free. Like, we were legitimately scared. We were like,
yeah.
okay, like
It probably
maybe.
didn't help that Michael wasn't home, so we were just like,
But I will say I definitely enjoyed it. I do want to see more. Even if I had time, I'd play the visual novel as well.
yeah, if you guys want to see us play the visual novel, if we can get the rights or whatever, because, some games, like Key Studios games, we can't play, we would definitely play that. Just check it out. Let us know in the comments below. Thumbs up this video. And yeah, I think that's all we have to say on Higurashi When They Cry. We're going to keep watching it. Let us know if you guys decide to pick it up.
Guess that's gonna do it. So we'll see you later.
Bye.